believe he's barred from serving again based on language in the U.S. Constitution. They say the 14th Amendment's disqualification clause expressly forbids anyone from serving who's engaged in an insurrection or rebellion against the government.
There's a new legal theory gaining some traction against Donald Trump and how his actions in regard to January 6th could actually keep him off the 2024 presidential ballot. And let me be clear, it's not just left-wing scholars who are making this argument. There are conservative scholars making this argument as well, which makes this whole situation even more fascinating. So what they're referencing is Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, also known as the disqualification clause. And that actually was a part of the Constitution, or was an amendment in the Constitution in response to the Confederacy, and essentially an effort to prevent a member of the Confederacy from running for public office for President of the United States. So here's the exact language of Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. No person shall be a senator or representative in Congress or elector of president and vice president or hold any office, civil or military, under the United States or under any state who, having previously taken an oath as a member of Congress or as an officer of the United States or as a member of any state legislature or as an executive or judicial officer of any state to support the Constitution of the United States shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same, or given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof. But Congress may, by a vote of 2/3 of each house, remove such disability. So that last part is definitely important. If this type of argument ends up working, if it stands, Congress could overturn it through a 2/3 vote, which is honestly nearly impossible in today's political climate. But nonetheless, Cenk, what do you think about this legal theory?
So look, first of all, it's super interesting that conservatives are bringing it forward. It was two Federalist Society lawyers that originally brought it forward, and then it's a celebrated conservative and a celebrated liberal law professors that then made a giant op-ed out of it, et cetera. So, but in terms of the actual theory itself, it's actually rock solid. That doesn't mean it's gonna win, but here's why it's rock solid. Several people have literally been convicted of insurrection. Stuart Rhodes, some of the Proud Boys. So those guys did an insurrection according to the courts and according to a jury. They were convicted. Did Trump aid and abet them by, for example, saying Proud Boys stand by during the national debates? You can make that argument. Did he aid and abet them in different ways? So for example, not telling them to stop because according to witnesses, Trump said he enjoyed what they were doing. Did he aid and abet them in other ways? So, and second of all, it turns out this January 6th was an insurrection and it has been legally adjudicated to be an insurrection. Who led the insurrection? Was it Stuart Rhodes, Rando Bob, Walter Mondale? No, it was obviously Donald Trump. So the reason they had this in here is because they didn't want the Confederate traitors to come back in and take over the government. Well, I don't want this traitor who did this insurrection to come back and take over the government because he doesn't believe in the American government. He doesn't believe in democracy. It makes perfect sense to apply this. To me, that isn't the question. The question is the politics of it. So it could make all the sense in the world, but if for whatever reason the groupthink of the establishment goes, oh no, I don't think you could do that, then they won't. But right now it started on a good footing because it's right-wingers that are bringing it up within the establishment. So people are taking it seriously. If progressives have brought it up, no one would take it seriously. So that's a positive step forward. Would the Republicans lose it?
Yes.
Yes, they would. I mean, they would go apoplectic if he was disqualified. So, and I will tell you this, there's one thing the conservatives are right about. You cannot do this state by state. If you do it, because technically, you can call for different states to disqualify him, but then we're gonna have a hot mess on our hands. Remember, shoe always on the other foot. Republicans will turn around and go, I don't like the Bernie's hair. He's disqualified. I think he's an insurrectionist because he's a commie Marxist, okay?
Yeah.
And then we're gonna have a mess, we can't do that.
So yeah, I mean, there are a few states that are already looking into this, including New Hampshire, Arizona, and Michigan. Look, there is the legal argument and what the Constitution entails, and then you're right, there's the politics of it. and what the consequences of actually moving forward with this legal argument would be, right? I think the consequences might outweigh allowing him to just run for president. If you
I hear you, but I do. But I thought about that too, Anna, as I was considering this, and then I ultimately decided against it. Why? So again, I want to say the right wingers are right. We can't have Hawaii and Vermont disqualify Trump, and then he can't be president. Whatever, right? We can't. But more importantly, swing states like Minnesota's largely Democratic, but he could theoretically win Minnesota if they disqualify him. That's terribly unfair. Right? So you've got to either do it at the national level or not. Now, having said that, why do I think it makes sense? Well, I mean, what did Hitler do? Okay, so it's a Hitler analogy, everybody panic. Okay, fine, but I'm just saying, he tried to subvert democracy in Germany, and then they didn't stop him enough. They didn't forbid him from running again, and because they thought they were being fair. But did he believe in democracy? Of course not. He wanted to destroy democracy, and he had already shown it. So they should have disqualified him from running. And Trump already did a goddamn rebellion against America. He said, I don't care that I lost. There's witnesses that say he knows he freaking lost. Of course he lost. And I don't care if he's so painfully stupid that he doesn't understand that he lost, but he definitely did. He doesn't have any goddamn evidence at all. And then he says, who cares? He doesn't stop the riots. He lets them go for 3-4 hours. He says he doesn't mind that his vice president might have been murdered. Jesus, this guy's a despicable fascist, an actual fascist. So should we go, well, let's be fair to the Republicans and let them run because they might have their feelings hurt? I considered it because I know how angry they're gonna be. They're gonna be super angry, right? But no, don't let fascists run in a democracy because they don't believe in a democracy. But it doesn't go based on, hey, someone online called him a fascist. No, did you do an insurrection against the United States of America? It has already been adjudicated as an insurrection. So who led it?
Right, so look, for me, it's not about like, oh, Republican voters are gonna be upset by it. I think we're headed closer and closer to actual violence, and with some, honestly, I hear conservative hosts on conservative shows fanning the flames of civil war, all of that stuff, that concerns me more, right? Like the political fallout and what it could potentially lead to in the country is what concerns me more than just simply hurting people's feelings by disqualifying Donald Trump through this specific section of the Constitution.
So yes and no. On the one hand, them threatening civil war is giving in to the Gestapo, saying, hey, we're gonna kill you guys if you don't agree with us. So make sure you let our fascist leader run again. Well, hey, brother, you gotta do what you gotta do and we gotta do what we gotta do. Okay, so I'm not moved by that. But I am like, one of the things that pisses me off about the establishment and the Democrats, so the Democrats never admit that there is an establishment and that people don't like it and that it is biased, okay? We're unique in that we say that and we say Trump is bad because both of those things are true. How is it relevant here? If you're gonna use the 14th Amendment, why didn't you start 2.5 years ago? And I'll tell you why they didn't start 2.5 years ago, for the same exact reason that none of these trials started 2.5 years ago. Because the establishment didn't want to use any of these things against another elite, against a president, right, a former president. But they thought in their infinite stupidity that Trump wouldn't run again, or that the Republican voters would realize how radical he is, and golly gee, they would go with a corporate Republican, right? Well, you were all dumb, you were all wrong, as you always are in Washington. And then you waited and waited and waited, and now it looks like he's gonna win the Republican primary, and now you're panicked and going to the 14th Amendment. And so it looks biased. When you had a perfectly good case, you should have pursued right from the get-go. But you didn't pursue it when he did the insurrection, you're pursuing it when he's running for office. So that's what enrages the right, and the timing is political. But he did do it. Both of those things are true, and we can't get either side to acknowledge things that are obviously true.
Thanks for watching the video, guys. We also love it if you hit the join button below because that makes you a member, and members allow us to be independent, honest. We can be as progressive as we want, no corporate media influence, and that's all because of you guys. We love doing the show with our members. Hit the join button, become one of the Young Turks.